So we had to wait until late Sunday night to find out what it all meant, figure out who won the NFC North and what the wild card picture would look like. But while we waited, we had one last early slate to get through, and of course, why wouldn't we send it out in style with a banger of a chaotic final early window? That is the second item on our Sunday six, and the chaos primarily unfolded in the NFC, which I'll take this opportunity to offer a mea culpa. My bad, NFL. My bad, schedule makers. I assumed we were in for a relatively low-key start to the Sunday because look at these lines. 3 NFC playoff contenders were favored by a touchdown or more. Bucks by 14.5 points, Commanders by 6.5, Packers by 10. Surely we're going through the motions. We're trying to get to the playoffs. Teams on losing teams. We're trying to get to the beach. Surely not too much drama to be had. Absolutely not. It all went haywire almost from the word go. At one point early on Sunday, every single game was going the opposite direction of the script, just like the NFL drew it up. You love to say any given Sunday, and sometimes it feels like a cliche until you're wrapped up in an early window like this. Let's start with the team that did ultimately clinch the NFC South. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeat the Saints 27-19. A score that looks relatively routine, and the game was anything but. And forgive me, Bucks fans, forgive me, Bucks players, but I spent most of the day imagining how this was all going to go wrong. Remember, the Falcons lost to the Commanders last week. They handed the lead in the NFC South back to Tampa. All you got to do is beat a Saints team that's not starting Derek Carr or Alvin Kamara or Chris Olave, and you get the home playoff game. There's a reason they were favored by 14.5 points. The Saints were playing Spencer Rattler. They've been ravaged by injury all year. All you got to do is win a home game against an injured team, and you're good. You're the NFC South champs for a 4th straight year. Piece of cake. Until midway through the first half, when those Spencer Rattler-led Saints had piled up 182 yards of offense and had scored 13 points, this looked like it was heading toward disaster. And I don't say disaster lightly, because it's one thing that the Bucks' playoff hopes felt like they were going up in smoke, but also maybe this entire Tampa Bay regime was. We talked with Peter Schrager in the preview episode that Todd Bowles' job security never felt completely good, despite the number of times they've made the playoffs, despite the games that he's won. I firmly believe if Tampa Bay had lost this game, we could be talking about Todd Bowles being a somewhat surprising firing at the end of the season, despite finishing with a winning record. You lose on the last day of the season to cost yourself a division title, and maybe you get fired. That's what was all working through my mind. I saw it with crystal clarity. The Falcons can beat the Panthers at home, and the Bucks will be on the outside looking in. Then you take a breath, you give it some time, and things work out. Sure enough, the Bucks roared back from a 16-6 halftime deficit. They outscore the Saints 21-3 after halftime. And of course, having said all of those daydreams of doom that I was imagining, it all went the exact opposite. Not only did the Bucks yank back the lead from the Saints, but the Falcons outfailed the Bucks. Atlanta allowed 44 points to Carolina in an overtime loss. Bryce Young, probably the best day of his entire NFL career, 5 total touchdowns to sink the Atlanta Falcons. So even if the Bucks hadn't pulled this off, they would still be in the playoffs today. But of course, that's not what happens. The Bucks lead some late scoring drives. Baker Mayfield does his thing with a clutch scramble in the shadow of his own goalpost. Just like that, the nervy starts ends in absolute jubilation. And I do say jubilation if you watched Mike Evans' celebration after the game clinching pass. And I do say game clinching pass. Never before, maybe never again, will you see a victory formation scenario where instead of kneeling, the team throws an out to their best receiver, and it's not without reason. Mike Evans gets to 89 yards with the last play of this game to get to 1,000 yards on the season. He already had the 70 catches and 10 touchdowns that he needs. So Mike Evans, with that catch, earns $3 million extra dollars, and I think more importantly, maintains his incredible streak of never finishing below 1,000 yards on the year. 11 straight years. Ties Jerry Rice. They're the only guys that have ever done it that many times. Only Jerry Rice has done it more times in his career, 14 total. Not the only guy that had a moment, obviously. The guy that got him that final football, Baker Mayfield, 2 touchdowns on the day. Like I mentioned, 68 rushing yards. His second straight NFC South title. Not bad for a guy who signed as an afterthought. And it was very fun to see him be Tom Brady's final LFG player of the game for the regular season.
Congratulations, Baker. Tell me about that last drive where you flipped the ball to Bucky Irving to kind of get the go-ahead touchdown, and not the go-ahead touchdown, but you sealed it with that one. Tell me about that play.
Yeah, honestly, we had drawn something up for Mike to get to over 1,000 yards at that point, and thought we were getting zero coverage, so we wanted to check the protection, get him a one-on-one chance, and just bad leverage on it, and they didn't end up blitzing it. So made a play. Bucky not having anybody blocking that extra protection, so he made a play, and he's a great player.
Yeah, I thought the play of the day was your scramble on the third down when you're backed up there in the fourth quarter and you ran for about 25 yards. Tremendous run. Your legs this year, I've seen you just so mobile and extending third downs. It's been awesome to watch you do that this year. Is that just more of a thought in your head when the plays are breaking down? How are you seeing yourself in those situations?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it starts with the protection. Those guys are protecting for days back there when I'm able to take off. And when they're dropping 8, playing some of this, obviously the situation, third and really long. So they're dropping out underneath and just having a few lanes and just trying to extend it, getting us into a chance to get the first down. And that's the mentality for us.
I'm very happy for you, for your team, getting into the playoffs. I know it's a quick turnaround here when playoff football happens. Your team is so resilient. Tell me about what you guys have been through and what it means for you to be in this situation with this team. It's a special group.
Yeah, I mean, this team's got the mental makeup to overcome anything. I mean, the amount of guys we've lost throughout this year, and I know everybody's got the same story throughout the league, but the guys that have stepped up throughout this year, the whole season, having a move for the hurricane, and just everybody adapting, adjusting on the fly. That's what great teams do. And so we've been battle tested, and all we wanted was a chance to get in this thing and see what happens. And now we'll take it 1 week at a time.
Yeah, you've done it. Congratulations to you. Really happy for you. Maybe we'll see you back here next week, but really tremendous season. Maybe we'll see you in the playoffs.
I appreciate it, Tom. Good to see you, man.
Every game that I broadcast, I award the LFG Player of the Game to that one player who makes me say, let's go.
I will leave it with this. We talked about Todd Bowles. He's wound up in people's crosshairs at times this year, mismanaging the situation with Mike and Chris Godwin at the end of the Ravens game, not playing for the win at the end of the Chiefs game. Todd Bowles, of all people, you would understand if he had knelt out the clock and gotten out of there with the NFC South title. I think it says a lot about what Mike Evans means to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that they made sure to get him that damn ball. He finishes with 1,000 yards by the skin of his teeth. The Buccaneers win the division. They get the home game. They will be hosting the Washington Commanders on Wild Card Weekend. It's also beautiful. It all started out looking so wrong. It's a testament to the grit of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that they turned it around.